Lesson 1, Factors and Multiples. A factor is composed of other numbers called factors. For example, we know that 2 times 3 equals 6. So 2 and 3 are factors of 6. When a set of numbers has the same factor, it is called a common factor. And the greatest common factor is the largest factor that a set of numbers has in common. So one way to find the greatest common factor is by using a Venn diagram and factor trees. So we're going to do this with the numbers 15 and 60. So I know that 3 times 5 can equal 15. And that is where we're going to stop for 15. For 60, I know that 5 times 12 equals 60. Now we're going to go and we're going to break down 12 again. So 12 can be multiplied by 3 times 4. And then 4 can be broken down into 2 times 2. So the numbers that 15 and 60 have in common are 3 and 5. So I'm going to put those in the middle here because the numbers that are in this middle area are the ones that they have in common. And then the ones that they don't have in common was 2 and 2. So I'm going to write that over there. Now to figure out what the greatest common factor is, I'm going to take our two numbers from the middle, 3 times 5, multiply those together to get 15. So our greatest common factor, otherwise known as GCF, is equal to 15. So the other way we can find the greatest common factor is by using what is called the ladder method. And we are going to continuously divide by 2. So we have two numbers, 20 and 16, and I'm going to divide those by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. 16 divided by 2 is 8. I'm going to do that again. 2 divided by 10 is 5, and 2 divided by 8 is 4. And since we have a 5 here, I can't divide 5 by 2 and get a whole number, so that is where we're going to stop. So now I'm going to take those two 2's that I wrote over here on the side, and we're going to multiply them together. So 2 times 2 is equal to 4, so our greatest common factor is 4. Now we're going to do that again over here with 24 and 40. So I'm going to divide by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 40 divided by 2 is 20. Okay, so now I'm going to do it again. Divide by 2. 2 divided by 12 is 6. 2 divided by 20 is 10. And I can keep going. 2 divided by 6 is 3, and 2 divided by 10 is 5. And again, I cannot divide evenly 3 and 5. So that is where we're going to stop. So I'm going to take these 2's that I wrote over here, and we're going to have 2 times 2 times 2. I'm going to start with the first 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 2 is 8. So our GCF is equal to 8. So now we're going to find the GCF of 24 and 6. So the way I'm going to do it here is I'm just going to ask myself what I can multiply together to get our number. So I'm going to just start with 1. So I know that 1 times 24 is 24. I'm going to move on to 2. I know 2 times 12 is equal to 24. 3 times 8 is equal to 24. 4 times 6 is equal to 24. 5, can't do that. 6, I already have. 7, doesn't work either. 8, I also have that. 9 doesn't work, 10 doesn't work. So that is where we stop. I have all of my factors. So now I'm going to do that same thing for 6. So 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. 3s I already have, 4s don't work, 5s don't work, 6 I already have. So I'm going to stop at 6 because obviously if I keep going, it's going to make no sense because those numbers are going to be greater than 6. So now I'm going to look and see which numbers do they have in common. Well, they have number 1 in common. However, number 1 won't be your greatest common factor. Do they have 24 in common? Nope. 2? Yep. 12? Nope. 3? Yes. 8? No. 4? No. 6? They do. So now I'm going to look at the numbers I have circled and to see which one is the biggest number because we're looking for the greatest common factor. So the biggest number they have in common is 6. So our greatest common factor here is 6. This time we have 3 numbers. We have 18, 24, and 60. So I'm going to start with 18. So I know 1 times 18 will give us 18. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 6 is 18. 4 won't work. 5 won't work. 6 I already have. 7 won't work. 8 won't work. 9 I already have. And 10 won't work. So now I'm going to move on to 24. And we just did these factors, so we should still know them. So we have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. And now we have 60. So I know 1 and 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 times 15, 6 times 10, 7's not going to work, 8's not going to work, 9's not going to work, and I already have 10 here. So if we're using this method that I am using with the counting up starting at 1, we can stop at 10 because if we have numbers that are bigger than 10, they're most likely already going to have been written down. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to see which numbers they have in common. So I do know that they have 1 in common. 18, let's look. Look at all 3 sets of numbers. Nope, no 18. 2, I can see that 2 appears in all 3 sets of numbers. 9, nope. 3, yes, it appears in all 3 sets. And 6. And 6 also appears in all 3 sets. And since I ran out of numbers with 18, we are done. Now we have to find the greatest common factor out of these circles. So which number is the biggest number we have? So in our sets of numbers here, our greatest common factor is going to be equal to 6. So the second part of this lesson is talking about multiples. So a multiple of a number is the product of multiplying that number by another number. So when we were talking about factors, we were taking 2 numbers that can be multiplied together to equal the number that was given to us. So if the number was 6, we know that 2 times 3 is 6, so 2 and 3 were factors. When we're talking about multiples, we are talking about the answer. So the first 5 multiples of 7. So we have 1 times 7, which is 7. 7 times 2, which is 14. 7 times 3, which is 21. 7 times 4, which is 28. And 7 times 5, which is 35. So when we are using the least common multiple, we are looking for the smallest number that a set of numbers has in common. All right, so let's do some practice. So we have 2 numbers, 4 and 9, and we're going to list the first 10 multiples of each number. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36, and 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, so now let's look at the multiples of 9. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 9 is 81. And 9 times 10 is 90. So now we're going to look and we're going to see which numbers do they have in common. So do they have 4 in common? Nope. 8? Nope. 12? Nope. 16? Nope. 20? Nope. 24? Nope. 28? Nope. 32? Nope. 36? Yes. And so since 36 was the first number we got to, it's also going to be our least common multiple, otherwise known as our LCM. So for this example, our LCM is 36. So let's practice again with the numbers 3 and 7. So again, we're going to list the first 10 multiples. So 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 9 is 27. And 3 times 10 is 30. So now we're going to move on to sevens. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9 is 63. And 7 times 10 is 70. So now we're going to look at both sets of numbers to see which number they have in common. And again, we're looking for the least common multiple. So what is the smallest number that they have in common? And the smallest number that they have in common is going to be 21. So our least common multiple here is 21. Amari and Ethan planned an end-of-season soccer party. They purchased 45 hot dogs and 30 individual bags of chips. If each person will receive the same amount of food, what is the greatest number of people that they can feed without having any leftovers? So because I saw the word greatest, I know that we are going to be using GCF. So I need to start by finding our factors of 45 and 30. So our factors for 45 are 1, 45, 3, 15, 5, and 9. Our factors for 30, 1, 30, 2, 15, 3, 10, 5, and 6. So which numbers do they have in common? Well, they have 1 in common. They have 3 in common. They have 15 in common. And they have 5 in common. And again, we're looking for the greatest common multiples. What is the biggest number they have in common? And the biggest number they have in common is 15. So they can feed 15 people without having any leftovers. So what will each person receive? So for hot dogs, what did we multiply 15 by to get 45? We multiplied 3, so they will each get 3 hot dogs. How many chips are they going to get? Well, 15 people. What did we multiply 15 by? We multiplied 15 and 2 to get 30, so they will each get 2 bags of chips. All right, last question. The Vasquez family visits their grandmother every 3 weeks and hosts a neighborhood party every 8 weeks. Every 16th week, the Vasquez family takes a day to go hiking. After how many weeks will the Vasquez family both visit their grandmother and host the neighborhood party? So in order to find this out, I need to find the multiples of these numbers. So that means that I am going to be using LCM, least common multiple. All right, so we first need to find our LCM for 3 and 8. And we are doing this because we know that they visit their grandmother every 3 weeks and they host a neighborhood party every 8 weeks. So our multiples for 3, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. For 8, we have 8, 16, 24, and 32. I could keep going, but I don't need to because when I'm looking at these numbers, I can already see which number they have in common, and that is 24. And that is the smallest number they have in common. So I know my answer is 24 weeks. B, after how many weeks will all 3 events occur? So I already have our multiples for 3 and 8. However, I might have to add on to those. But some of them I've already done. So I just need to copy those ones. And I also need to find the multiples for 16. All right, so I've written out our multiples as you can see. So for 3, I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45, and 48. For 8, I have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. For 16, I have 16, 32, and 48. And I stopped there because I can see that all 3 numbers have 48 in common. So even if I keep going, 48 is going to be the smallest number that they have in common. So I know that our answer is 48 weeks. All right, so that concludes today's lesson on factors and multiples. Before you move on to homework handout 1, please make sure you summarize what you learned today and then get started on that homework.